Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I'm the Reverend Kevin Tarsa. I'm glad you're here with us this morning on a blessedly cool morning with some wetness even from the rain, something I do not take for granted at all. I invite you into this unfolding moment, this ever unfolding moment. Every day we're greeted with surprises, with new things to navigate, and we'll honor that reality today. I invite us to enter the time together by singing, "Morning has come, arise and greet the day." Please join in body or in spirit.
Morning has come, arise and greet the day. Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. A new day dawns, once more the gift is given. Wonder fills this moment shared together. The light of peace here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Open our eyes and see that life abounds. Open hearts to welcome it among us. The light of hope here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Community of the Mountains in Grass Valley, California. I am Gail Vaughan, your on-screen worship associate for this morning's service, ably assisted by our behind-the-scenes, hardworking Cheryl Morris, who's also sharing the worship associate duties with me. She sends her welcome along as well. One of the things I love about being a worship associate for a whole month is that I get to dig deeply into the month's theme, as each week we twist it and turn it and look at it from every angle to tease out meaning that speaks to the needs of our community. This month's theme, Embracing Possibility, is provocative. In this moment in history, sometimes it seems that anything is possible except what we used to think was normal. Is the glass half full? Is it half empty? If it fills up, with what will it fill? Happiness, stress, excitement, joy, things long feared, new and amazing things? All of the above? None of the above? And what is our role in creating or navigating the fulfillment of the possible? That's why we've titled today's service, Whatever Comes Next. We'll offer some alternatives to the ostrich's strategy of head in the sand. How do we ground ourselves in the midst of worry and frustration? Sometime along the way, I found myself pulled off course by worry or angst, and I got in the habit of telling myself, I'm a spiritual being having a physical experience. This is all illusion. It helps me know that no matter what comes next, the core of me will be okay. So, welcome to this place of possibility. This is love's hearth, the home of hope, a refuge for minds in search of truth, unfolding, ever beautiful, ever strange. Here, compassion is our shelter, freedom our inspiration to protect our democracy from the storms of bigotry and hate. In this place, we are each welcome, welcomed home, be this our first time or our long-standing spiritual home, or anything in between. Be we young or not so young, be we rich in physical and emotional health or living with challenges, be we gay or straight or both, no matter our race, no matter our creed, no matter the land of our heritage, in this abode, may we find comfort and courage. Here may our hopes for the barely possible find fruition as we work together to create the good that is yet to be. I am so glad you are with us today.
May this flame cast its light toward the coming days, reminding us the future is not simply a place we're going, but a place we are creating. The path of new possibilities will not be found, but made. A new world is awaiting to be built, and may our time together help light a way. Some people use matches to light their chalice. Some use barbecue starters to light their chalice. I prefer to use magic to light my chalice.
The Nisenan tribe of the Nevada City Rancheria were the original inhabitants of the Bear and Yuba River watersheds. Scotty Hart offers our land acknowledgement this morning.
In our commitment to be in right relationship with the descendants of this area's indigenous people, we place a small basket of black oak acorns on our altar each week. In doing so, we acknowledge the Nisenan people are still here among us today, though they are nearly invisible and their story continues to be excluded from history. We understand we are on Nisenan land that was never ceded, and the original tribal families have yet to recover from the near genocide of their people. As residents or visitors in Nisenan land, we support the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe in efforts to stabilize their people, as well as the campaign to restore tribal sovereignty through federal recognition.
The opening words come from the Reverend Gretchen Haley. Let astonishment be possible. Whatever you have come in anticipating, whatever you expect or worry for our world, for the future, for our lives, let it go. Make space in your heart to be surprised. Make room in your soul for a new story to take shape. Let astonishment be possible at this life that remains a miracle. Imagine here the bursting of joy, relentless and resilient, coming in waves, washing over us with music and story, silence, and still this dreaming together, being hope for each other, and courage to the lead in this new day, dawning for us all. Come, let us worship together.
Let me tell you about Farmer Chin. Farmer Chin had a pretty typical life. He had his acres and his harvest to tend to. He had his animals and his family to help with the tasks. He also had neighbors who would sometimes visit and bring dumplings and their opinions. One day, Farmer Chin's strongest, most beautiful horse ran away, and the neighbors came immediately to express their sorrow for Farmer Chin having lost one of his most valuable possessions. And they asked him if he wasn't just sad as he could be about that change of fortune. After all, losing value is a horrible thing to experience. Farmer Chin's response was, maybe yes, maybe no. The following day, that horse returned with 10 other wild horses, equally beautiful, equally strong, adding to Farmer Chin's stables. And the neighbors came running, celebrating, saying how wonderful it was that he now had all of these additional horses. Farmer Chin's response was, maybe yes, maybe no. The next day, his oldest child, who was to be the heir to the farm, the child who showed the most interest in inheriting this land and this responsibility, was taming the horses, or trying to, and their leg was broken in the process. And the neighbors came running once again to lament this change of fortune, saying how disappointed Farmer Chin must be that his child would now grow up, possibly with a limp for the rest of their lives. Isn't that just a sorrowful, sad state of affairs? Farmer Chin said, maybe yes, maybe no. A week later, an announcement went throughout the kingdom that war was at hand, and that the young, strong, able-bodied children would be conscripted into the army and into the service of the kingdom. But Farmer Chin's child wasn't able to go because their leg had just been broken. And the neighbors came running with the dumplings and the opinions, saying how wonderful it was. What a relief it must be to Farmer Chin that his child would not have to go and fight in the war. And Farmer Chin responded, I bet you can guess, maybe yes, maybe no. This story reminds us that we always have the choice to remain open, to embrace all the possibilities in a situation when we might be tempted to immediately assume that something is a tragedy or even a great boon, that we might take a second, reevaluate the situation, and see how it unfolds. And you know, that story inspired me to write this song. The journey isn't over. The race is far from run. The story isn't written. game has just begun. Each day is a new day, every day is a new day. Who knows what comes next? If misery befalls you, let the misery take hold. When tragedy calls you, you can let the thing unfold. Each day is a new day, every day is a new day. Who knows what comes next? This might be the best day you ever had. The truth is, no day is really good or bad. It might be the path that you've chosen, might be the last one you would. Things might be getting so crazy, you would laugh if you could. Slide on through it with grace, open your heart and embrace whatever comes next. Slide into it with grace, open your heart and embrace whatever comes next. Whatever comes next.
I love Leah's song. Leah Morris is actually telling a story and composing a song for each of the themes this year for Soul Matters. So we'll get to see more of Leah and her artistry. I invite us to take time, as we do each week, to acknowledge in ourselves as much as anything, and in some ways to each other, the joys and the sorrows, the worries, all that we hold in our hearts, all that we're carrying, all that we're trying to navigate in these extraordinary times. I invite you to let this time be a time when you settle in, perhaps notice your breath, listen deeply into your heart. And then during the music, see what resides there, who resides there. And if you wish, to type into the chat some piece of the joy or the sorrow or the concern that you hold in your heart. As always, I invite us to hold each other tenderly as we do this, even in this electronic arrangement, this electronic community that allows us to gather together this morning. Here's a time to search your heart, and if you wish, to share. Rain names the joy that I get to be part of the UU the Vote anniversary today at 1 p.m. The effort last year to encourage people to get out to vote for the election. Email me if you want the link Rain T-Bolt offers. Lynn names being able to spend time with my sister yesterday and see good friends. Also the beginning of fall. I'm grateful. Julia is excited for possibilities, cautiously optimistic that good things are coming. Gwen and Wally enjoying an extended birthday celebration and loving a visit with my daughter. This must be Gwen Jill this weekend. Oh, I'm glad, Gwen, for both of you. Gail named a lovely time at the coast, placing her husband's ashes in waters flowing into the ocean, where he loved to sail. Robin is relieved that medical tests came back negative and that democracy in California was upheld last week. Two things that weighed heavily on me, she writes. Someone offers great joy for a new grandson named Brody Reef Elias, born, it must be Paul, 9/10/21 in Bakersfield. Big brother Asa learning there's a new sheriff, aka baby brother, in town. Rob writes of joy with daughter's return from a 7-week trip to Europe. The delicious rain, holding all family in love. Oh, this is Suzanne, while dealing with health issues. The blend, as is so often true. Martha's grateful for the rain last night, indeed. Tom offers joy that my ankle seems to be responding favorably to stem cell treatment. Jim offers much joy at the 33 UUCM members who came and stayed at our Stop the Rise Gold Mine team presentation on Justice Night last Thursday. We care and will act for justice, he writes. Beth's taking steps toward making our water situation more secure. We had help from our neighbor to get a water tank onto our property. Never thought I'd be so much looking forward to doing loads of laundry and washing sinkfuls of dishes. Susan savoring the song lyrics, I dreamed of rain and the rain came and peace spread over the land. Wally offers gratitude for a great work day at UUCM here on Saturday. Thank you to everyone. Tam's so happy for sister Sue coming home. Robin also grateful for the rain last night. Lisa glad my 81-year-old dad is doing well and keeping his Parkinson's stabilized. Carol glad to join UUCM at Circles River cleanup Saturday. And Roberta offers joy to be enjoying UUCM services during hard times. Gail has lit a pair of candles, one to honor all the suffering that comes with the coronavirus, the COVID-19 virus in our lives, in the world, and a candle for all the rest that we hold. I invite you into a moment of silence just to hold what you've heard, what you know, what you can imagine, and to hold in your memory and maybe even on your screen the images of these faces, all these hearts and lives that you love so dearly or can imagine knowing, even if you're brand new. I invite you into the silence in a moment and then a time of prayer and meditation. Our prayer this morning arrives in the words of Reverend Sarah Lawal. Spirit of life and love, holy mystery. May we hear the voice within calling us to ask what's possible, to walk to the edge, to shed the fear and need for control, and to dance with the infinite for a while. May we set down the list of wrongs and hurts and see obstacles as invitations for innovation, beckoning our creativity. May we hear each other's voices of love and encouragement. May we hear the cries of the world asking us, who do we choose to be? May we be vessels of comfort and compassion. May we be vessels of hope and healing. May we be vessels of peace and justice. May love prevail. In the name of all that is holy, we pray. Amen. I invite you into the music and into the singing.
There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul. There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know thy soul will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know my rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know my rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open.
Historically, pandemics have forced humans to break with the past and imagine their world anew. This one is no different. It is a portal, a gateway between one world and the next. We can choose to walk through it, dragging the carcasses of our prejudice and hatred and our avarice, our data banks, our dead ideas, our dead rivers and smoky skies behind us. Or we can walk through lightly, with little luggage, ready to imagine another world and ready to fight for it.
I need to begin this morning with an important announcement. The announcement that perfection is canceled. Yes, perfection is canceled. Remarkably, this will come as a shock and deep disappointment to some of us, and even now, and as a tremendous relief to others, a relief to all of us if we can accept it. I heard that announcement from Marcia McPhee this week, who is addressing ministers and worship planners who are trying to figure out what to do now. And I learned later that it's the title of a podcast from William Sterling, Perfection is Canceled. In truth, although it has been advertised continually as about to begin, perfection's actually never gotten off the ground, never been a reality. It's one of many persistent, stubborn illusions that this pandemic has been trying to illumine or to coax us away from, or as time goes on, been trying to pry our tightly grasping fingers off of. Pretty much every single day, we've been invited to let go of something. Almost often enough to get me to let go. At the start of the pandemic, I named my hope and expectation that whatever suffering it might bring, the pandemic might also bring rare and helpful clarity. This month's invitation to embrace possibility is an invitation to recognize and receive the unexpected gifts of thwarted expectations and the dismantling of our autopilot mechanisms. The unsettling gift of noticing and coming to terms with uncomfortable and inconvenient truths beneath the surface. The frustrating and painful gift of disillusionment, the loss of support for some of the illusions to which we have been clinging. A post for Krista Tippett's On Being project noted that, quote, "This past year has held layers of loss and grief and rupture, as well as tectonic shifts of opening and learning and possibility. We move into a world that is trying to open up fitfully, a world that we must, in many ways, remake," unquote. All of that feels true to me. If we are to embrace the possibilities being released by these tectonic shifts, which is a very Unitarian Universalist thing to try to do, and if we are to remake the world in ways that we must, which is also a very Unitarian Universalist thing to try to do, we will need to see what is rather than what we expect or wish to see. We will need to meet what is face to face without either trying to grab onto it or to run away from it. And only then will we know what we've really got to work with and what the coming possibilities might be. To invite that kind of openness this morning, I'm going to continue to draw on John Schneider's insight into transformational grief, on the wisdom of Buddhist nun and teacher Pema Chodron, on the miraculous nature of caterpillars, and on MacGyver. Yes, from the TV show. Last Sunday, I shared John Schneider's wisdom that the process of grief involves making 3 discoveries over time. Discovering what's lost, what's left, and then what's possible. Basically in that order. Last week, I invited all of us into the first discovery, to recognize and in fact to inventory what we have lost during the pandemic and in recent times, including all those associated losses that ripple out from a primary or obvious kind of loss. John taught that we cannot know what is left or what needs to be restored until we know what is gone. Unless we face the losses fully, he taught, we might assume that we have lost more or less than we have actually lost. That's why, although it feels counterintuitive, that we begin by focusing on the losses in order to be able to find our way to hope and to possibility. That kind of honest inventory that John recommends is an ongoing process, not only because new losses will continue to arise and unfold, and wow, we know this in particular right now, I think, but also because when a loss is very deep, recognizing all of it at once would overwhelm us. So we recognize loss in the amounts that we're able to over time. Discovering the losses this past year or so has been increasingly exhausting for most of us. Yet paradoxically, there is hope in that too, because reaching our limits offers an opening. Pema Chodron writes that every day we're given many opportunities to open up or to shut down. The most precious opportunity presents itself when we come to the place where we think we can't handle whatever is happening, when it's too much, when it's gone too far. John Snyder would say that when we truly recognize and take to heart the fullness of all that we've lost, really feel it, know it, understand it, we exhaust our search in that way, then we come to the edge of that first discovery, to the place where we can begin to see more than what we've lost. And we discover that not all is lost. Even in the most terrible and tragic circumstances, he said, not all is lost, ever. Though it might be difficult to discover otherwise sometimes. John says that with very deep grief, this second discovery, this healing, begins with the discovery or rediscovery of the simple and the sensory, the little things that keep us going. That's usually the first step into this second phase. In the midst of sadness and frustration this year, in meetings and conversations, many of you have spoken of the ways beauty, nature, beloved animals, a cup of tea, moving music, a sunrise, birds at the feeder, a particularly honest conversation, or cookies or a loaf of bread delivered to your doorstep, helped sustain you. If you need a starting place to move from feeling the losses to feeling what's left, perhaps that's a place to start, with the simple and the sensory, the little things that keep us going. Because not all is lost, ever. Once we face the fullness of what we've lost, we can then focus on new things or focus on old things with a new eye, says John. Several years ago on Easter, I invited us to find hope in the metaphor of a caterpillar and the process it goes through en route to becoming a butterfly or moth. I shared that when I was a child, a very curious child, I opened up a cocoon so I could see what was inside. So I could see a partially developed butterfly inside, I expected. I wondered how it transitioned from one form to another. To my great surprise, I found goo, very much as if I had cracked a raw egg, very, very similar. No legs, no internal organs, no eyes or antennae or wings, just liquid, yellowish goo. I thought it was a spoiled cocoon. I thought something had gone wrong. 40 years later, I learned that this is what happens inside a cocoon during its transformation. The constituent parts dissolve into goo, and a new set of instructions reforms those very same ingredients into a butterfly or moth. The metaphor for our times is obvious. Most everything feels gooey right now. We are swimming in goo, and are gooey ourselves, in fact. It might have appeared that things were gooey earlier in the pandemic, but I think the real gooiness is just starting to come now. And there's no way around it, my friends, only through the goo. We're moving into a world that we must, in many ways, remake. The dissolving, the gooiness is a natural and necessary, if sucky, part of the journey. I find two particular points of hope within that larger metaphor of goo particularly helpful. One is that for all its disturbingly messy, ill-definedness and loss of the familiar, all the necessary ingredients for the future are present. Everything needed to form the butterfly to come. Eventually. It's all there, in the goo. The second aspect I find hopeful is a discovery shared that same Easter morning. Researchers discovered that not everything inside a transforming caterpillar's skin turns to goo. There are cells that stay, that hold the blueprints and the instructions for butterfly building, and the wings, those so often delicate, beautiful, colorful wings, are separate from the goo, clinging just under the surface of the cocoon's skin. Researchers discovered that the wings are there just inside the skin of the caterpillar all along. Not everything turns to goo, even though that's what it looks like. The nascent wings are already there. My much less poetic illustration is of MacGyver, the hero who saves the day by disarming a bomb, by building a contraption out of a foil chewing gum wrapper, a paperclip, and his watch band. In other words, who saves the day again and again by using the often very limited materials, very ordinary materials at hand. Materials that you wouldn't think could do the job. Of course, it's a TV show, both the original as well as the reboot that ended just last spring, and so not necessarily realistic. But you can find a real-life version of a MacGyver rescue, as many of you will know, in the Apollo 13 story, the NASA mission in which so many things went wrong. Houston, we have a problem. You may remember that after an explosion damaged their spacecraft, the 3 astronauts moved into the lunar module to survive that was designed to take only 2 astronauts down to the moon's surface for a short period of time. It wasn't made to support 3 people, and certainly not for that long. And the carbon dioxide scrubbers that removed carbon dioxide from the air were quickly overloaded, meaning that the amount of carbon dioxide in the air was rising toward dangerous and, if not addressed, deadly levels. Now, they had plenty of extra scrubbers for the main part of the spacecraft, but not for the lunar module. But they could not use those extra scrubbers as is because the scrubbers in the main part of the spacecraft were cube-shaped, while the scrubbers for the lunar module were cylinder-shaped. In the movie version, at least, the person in charge tells the engineers to figure out how to make a square peg fit into a round hole. So the engineers got to work, but they could only plan to use materials that the astronauts already had with them. There was no rescue, no salvation beyond what they already had with them. They figured out a way, using, I kid you not, duct tape, a plastic bag, a piece of cardboard, a piece of towel, a hose from an astronaut suit, and of course, the cube-shaped scrubber. In other words, a gum wrapper, a paperclip, and a watch band. The engineers couldn't even send the astronauts a picture or a drawing. They had to talk them through it, had to describe it. I appreciate the extremeness of this example. When you're in space, there is absolutely no outside source for materials, no outside rescue. They have only what they have with them, and some help to figure it out. To offer that help, the engineers took stock of what was left, what the astronauts had to work with. Not everything is lost. The ingredients are always there. Some of the pieces we will need are just under the surface of our own skin. By recognizing what is not lost, we'll know genuinely what we have to work with. Last Sunday, we took some time to name some of what we've lost. This morning, I want to give you a chance to name something of what's left, something that you have not lost, something of what you'll have to work with in this round world in the making. I invite you to type into the chat something that you recognize is not lost, despite all the losses you may be feeling. In your life, in your world, what is left? What remains? What is not lost? I'll read some of them as they arise. Family. Chickens. Bond with husband. Edible weeds. Amazement. My creativity. Music. Ability to play guitar. My son being willing. Love, laughter, music, magic, the sense of wonder. Courage, strength, compassion. Curiosity. My drive to be useful. Visit with Iris. Izzy, my doggy friend. The connection with friends. Peace in nature. Children. The will to save ecology for our kids. Laughter. The Yuba River. Bread making. Gratitude. Old familiar books. Anyone in the room, feel free to call out too. Netflix. So much is not lost. So much is left, and as John teaches, we can get to that most complete list if we really feel and acknowledge the losses fully. Then we're best able to see what's left, what we've got to work with. John teaches that discovering what's left sometimes takes a great deal of effort. If it's a deep loss, it's often the most demanding part of the journey. I invite all of us to invest some energy there once we've faced our losses as fully and honestly as we can for now. Let's discover what's not lost in our own lives, in the life of the congregation, in the wider community, in the nation and world. What's left? What remains? What is not lost? I think this will be the work of this fall and winter, on our way to realizing what is now and newly possible. There's no way around it, only through the gooiness. To close, I want to return to Pema Chodron, who encourages us to learn to let go of our expectations. a lifetime process, of course. Our expectations hinder our ability both to face our losses, and they block our ability to see completely what's left and what's possible. When we're stuck in what we expect, we're less able to see. Pema writes that, quote, every day we're given many opportunities to open up or to shut down, unquote. To open up or to cling for dear life. To open up or to run away. To open up or to pull within. Every moment, says Pema, is the perfect teacher. Every moment is the perfect teacher, including this one. Every moment gives us an opportunity to notice our response to what is happening and to learn to stay open and present and as relaxed as we can with what is so that we can see it most clearly and from there learn what to do. The goal of meditation, Pema points out, is not to learn to be a good meditator. The goal of meditation is to learn to be present to what is, without indulging, without grasping, without running, to open and be present to whatever is arising in our lives. And these days, my friends, are a powerful teacher. You know it. Gretchen Haley's words early in the service reminded us to make space in our hearts to be surprised, to make room in our souls for a story yet to take shape. What we face may appear to us to be an utter disaster. Maybe yes, maybe no. What we face may appear to us to be our perfect source of happiness, our rescue, our salvation. Maybe yes, maybe no. By remaining open with less expectation, we'll have a chance at least to see what is arising, see ourselves, see what's left, see what's possible more clearly. What's arising for you these days? Might the path that you've chosen, might the last be the last you would choose, sang Leah Morris earlier. The path we're on might be the last one we choose. Slide on through with grace, Leah invites. Not perfection or ease or comfort, but with grace. Because perfection is canceled. Open your heart, Leah sings to us, and embrace, if you can, whatever comes next. So may we be.
There are so many possibilities that are made possible by our weekly offering. 18 months ago, who would have thought that UUCM would grow stronger through endless months of lack of physical gatherings? But We reached into the unseen bag of tricks to create compelling online services with breakout chats to help us stay connected. Who would have thought we could withstand the disappointment of opening up only to be shut down again by the virulent Delta variant? But here we are, finding so many ways to support each other as we continue with this long and dusty walk together. But your pledges and weekly giving grew, fueling our work together. And who would have imagined that one of us, Tracy Pepper, could hold the possibility of creating a new nonprofit, Color Me Human, to confront systems of oppression right here in Nevada County. This month, Color Me Human is our Pass the Plate partner. In the barely 2 years of existence, they've provided dozens of trainings and workshops for local businesses, nonprofits, and governmental departments. And, by the way, they've offered to do the same for UUCM. And every month, they facilitate a working group of county leadership from county departments, law enforcement, education, healthcare providers, and more, as well as members of the BIPOC Coalition, that's Black, Indigenous, People of Color, and LGBTQ+ community. With Color Me Human's leadership, these other leaders are working together to identify and confront systems of oppression in our county as a whole and in their sphere of influence in particular. Imagine the possibilities for the impact of their work going forward. 25% or more, if you wish, of your gift today will support Color Me Human's effective and critically needed work. Please give generously, and if you gave generously last week, let's do it again. Allison will now explain the options for making your gift.
Although we're not passing the basket in person, your generosity remains essential to our ability to sustain the work of our community. There are several ways to contribute. You may text an amount to 833-579-0483, give via our website at uugrassvalley.org, via PayPal at paypal.me/UUCM, or mail to UUCM 246 South Church Street, Grass Valley, California 95945. Thank you.
Thank you for your generosity. We dedicate these gifts to making manifest the possibility of a world of equity and inclusion rooted in love. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone who makes a service what it is, including our worship associates this morning and this month, Gail Johnson, Vaughan, and Cheryl Morris. So appreciative. Our chat host, Beth Carroll, so steadily behind the scenes. Bob Miller, as always, going above and beyond with all the equipment. And today, joined by Siobhan Boylan. Thank you, both of you, very much. Shanti Emerson not only spoke today, but did the beautiful setting. It was Jordan Thomas Rose offering the music this morning. And thank you to our readers who record ahead of time, Christy Barden, Scotty Hart, and Cheryl Morris. And behind the scenes, helping with all of that has been Corey Silva. Thank you so much. I invite you into singing one more time, the song that speaks of going on no matter what, whatever comes next. I invite you to join in body or in spirit as the music arises.
Though days be dark with storms and burdens weigh my heart, no troubles wait at every turn. I know I can go on, and when sorrow heals my soul and burdens wake me strong, though troubles wait at every turn, I know I can go on, and though the destination's long and the end of the destination's near, though troubles wait at every turn, I know I can go on. So come and take my hand, and friends, come and sing my song. The noble waits at every turn. I know we can go
It was Margaret Fuller, transcendentalist, trailblazer, Unitarian, who proclaimed, "I accept the universe." Margaret also said, "Reverence the highest, have patience with the lowest. Let this day's performance of the meanest duty be thy religion. Are the stars too distant? Pick up the pebble that lies at thy feet, and from it learn the all." May we notice those pebbles at our feet this week and in the weeks ahead. As we find our way together, I invite us into this community benediction that we speak together as a tangible, visceral reminder that we are connected. As we move into our week together, let us carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again. Looking forward to when that can be face-to-face. Please join us this afternoon for the poetry reading with some music at 2:30. This will include Bev Lyon, Julia Park Tracy, Ruth Gail, and Eileen Hale, at least I know. It should be a wonderful afternoon. The pumpkin patch this week turns to scarecrow making on Wednesday evening. This is a great all-ages activity. Come join in. Our Soul Matter circles are kicking off for the year, and this month we invite everyone, people who are already in circles, people who want to be in circles, people who are curious, to come to one of these open circles on Zoom. And there'll be a chance to explore this month's theme either Thursday evening or next Sunday. And then we'll move into the year proper for those who want to continue in circles, whether those are briefer circles of 3 months or 6 months or the full year, and whether you want to meet online or face-to-face when you can, or some combination. We'll see you next Sunday, our final Sunday in this theme of embracing possibility, with a service led by Gail Johnson Vaughan, Imagine My Surprise, which will include the voices of members and friends.
And get ready. If you'd like, you can turn on your camera if you haven't already. We'll be unmuting everyone shortly so you can greet each other. And you'll be invited to join a breakout room if you would like for a more intimate conversation. You can stay in this large group or come back to it at any time. And here's a list of today's breakout rooms.